guys?
Hey, it's all right. How's it going? How you guys?
Hi everybody. Hey.
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 I don't know if you've all got names. I'm Lee.
I'm
I can't say
Grant.
because you'll have it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm Ben.
Hi.
Hey.
Hi, Lee.
Hiya. Oh, you're wearing Cure t-shirt. It's
Yeah, I think it may be a bootleg. I'm not sure.
You should recognise this one, hopefully, James.
Yeah, that's not a
Yeah.
bootleg.
It's
yeah,
not
that one's-
good.
yeah, and this one is also signed on the back by all of you. At the Astoria, when you on Cha Cha Cha. Me and my band all met you guys, and you're all really nice, like super nice. I was mainly just I just nervously jabbered stuff at you, if you know what I mean. You all just like, yeah, really, like completely like, yeah, just rolling with it and being really nice. So yeah, we were very excited. It was one of the we all kind of we were a funk rock band for the predominant bit, but it was like during Britpop, and it was my first teenage band, so we were just like anything we liked we'd just do kind of thing. And like which Grant will bear out, we were weird, like
Yeah, everything.
learn the Chili Peppers. But one of our unifying things was actually that wasn't necessarily of the time or whatever, we were all really into EMF, which was like kind of like, oh right, that's quite different, you know, because everybody was kind of into the Chili's and everybody was kind of into Blur or whatever, especially whereas all of us, you know, all were kind of like, and we had one song called Rush, which was a total rip of like just doing EMF style, that we didn't have like we didn't have keyboards, so no housey kind of, you know, but more the riffy dance side of what you do. Yeah, and like I remember for the bridge, we were like, we don't know what to do for a bridge, and we just took the notes to Perfect Day and reversed them and did them just when it's like Perfect Day is like dum dum dum, and we went dum 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 or something like that. Exactly the same rhythm and everything. Yeah. So,
Oh, wonderful.
so yeah.
Sniff, sniff, snort, snort, well oh my god, well oh my lord, sniff, sniff, snort, snort, I've lost the balance, I've got no coordination. I was run away from the things I can't see, but when you see double trumps you believe. I try to get some help, I call for my man, he must follow TV in a fake bean can.
But it's funny about the Cure thing actually, because obviously I'm about to, in a bit, ask you to take part in a bit of a jukebox jury, and a while back we watched a jukebox jury with Robert Smith where one of the songs was EMF, and then you guys, and he wasn't super nice about it, and you guys came on like, and you were the surprise guests on it. I was just wondering if you remember.
Yeah, do you know what? In all fairness, he wasn't that unkind.
No, he wasn't awful.
The only thing he said was, "Oh, let's see what they're like on their second single or their third single."
Right,
But Derry got the hump, and it kind of escalated. And you know, there was something in what he said, you know, and it's Robert Smith, and he was a hero. Still is a hero. So
yeah, completely. I was just wondering.
I can't say anything about him.
I just thought it was funny that I'm going to ask you to be now a jukebox jury, so the shoes on the other foot, I guess, isn't it? So yeah. Just to introduce us all, Ben is doing a single on the label.
Nice to see you.
He's
nice to meet you, James.
So the Singles Club works like it's just this kind of subscribers club where we get people to join, and they get like the old punk or indie kind of, you know, singles clubs and stuff like that, and then basically they get the track like earlier by a month before it streams, and they're kind of like, I guess, part of the support of the promotional drive of it, because obviously we use the money from the club to promote things, and then also we rope unsuspecting celebrities into being on this vidcast so that we can get people to watch things in the idea of pushing said product, and you know what I mean. So thank you very much for doing it, and obviously there is like a load of homework that I gave you as well, so I really do appreciate it. And I guess for at least two of you, because Grant's a language teacher as well, then I guess with the homework bit, then the shoes on the other foot with that as well.
Well, teachers have quite a lot of homework as well, actually. You know, more than
I believe so. I hear that, yeah.
Ben has just recently returned to doing music after a bit of time out. He was in a band that kind of, would you say it's fair to say it kind of almost was or coulda, shoulda, woulda, kind of like that kind of thing? Like many bands, I'm myself am from one where we kind of like, you know, really did kind of work hard at it and got to a certain level, and then it kind of just became unworkable from a real life perspective.
Yeah, a little bit. I think we were definitely a very nearly woulda, coulda, shoulda band. But at the same time, I think, you know, I definitely look back on that period, which is kind of early 2000s, a long time ago now, as it feels anyway. With real pride at kind of the stuff that we did. We kind of did it on our own terms. And unfortunately, when you do stuff on your own terms in music, you maybe don't end up famous.
Yeah.
Not that often anyway. You do sometimes, but not that often. But it's yeah, no, I have no regrets about it in that respect at all. But yeah, no, we had a good time. We got a degree of notoriety in the sort of British independent music scene in the early 2000s for a few years, and then sort of burnout happened, as does tend to happen, especially when you're doing everything DIY in the way that we were doing. And then life happened, and you know, and then lockdown happened eventually, fast forward about another 10 years, and then figuring out how to record music at home happened, and yeah, here we are. And that's why I'm on this vidcast, I guess.
Yeah. Well, also because you made a really, really good song that everybody could hear.
That's it.
Which is obviously. Actually, because obviously Grant attacks it from quite a different perspective entirely. I don't think you really have any like kind of commercial music ambitions whatsoever.
Not really. It's just a home project for me, what I do. So, and then help out. After a few years of tagging along with you as you're like not quite Bez and not quite Leroy from the Prodigy, but like somewhere like where it's not appearing on a record or touring as such, usually just in the local gigs, but otherwise just bedroom project really, pretty much for me.
I did say in the email that Grant won't blow his own trumpet, and like it is like definitely.
Yeah,
I can tell that. Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's underrating it to call.
No.
him
I mean it like Bez or Leroy. Not if they were to do music, but I don't. I'll stop there. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think,
I don't know. There may be.
I think both
Leroy
of them
actually
are,
does make dance music, doesn't he? I think he does now.
Does he? Yeah, I didn't know that actually. So that's
yeah.
that's interesting.
I meant how he was in the Prodigy as a side person.
Yeah. But I would say you definitely had more input than just dancing. So you know that's. So, yeah. But yeah, so but then also
how is he dancing? Can you dance as
Oh,
well?
he's really good at
dancing.
No.
Put pressure on.
He knows. No, not in a professional way, but for an amateur guy on a dance floor, he knows crip walks and he knows like loads of good moves.
But I don't do necessarily like break dancing. I can't spin on my head or anything.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure.
That's why I related it more to Bez, because when you're a bit wasted and you know, like
in a world of rhythmless white people, you are not one of them. Let's put it that way. Yeah. So. James, like after EMF, like obviously I'm sure we'll come back to EMF, like it's unavoidable, but after EMF you all went off and did quite, you know, different stuff from EMF, like Ian was doing Whistler and Derry doing LK, which is big rock sound, Whistler being kind of acousticy, like folky kind of thing. You obviously you were doing some stuff with Bentley Rhythm, but you did Cooler, which was like comparatively like very much kind of dance music, you know, kind of proper electronic music. And obviously you kind of still floating around on like, I guess like labels of kind of like maybe smaller nature, but still getting to do it at a certain kind of level. And then like now recently, obviously I read an interview with you where you said maybe it's too much to expect to make money out of doing music in this day and age. And so I was wondering how obviously you've been doing solo bits for quite a while. And one thing I will say, by the way, for anybody who's watching who doesn't know your solo stuff, by comparison with any of those other things that I mentioned, your solo stuff is actually a really easy transition from fans of EMF, because your voice is totally unchanged. Like it's really in really good shape, sounds exactly the same as it did, or stronger at points, and then it's almost like the music is like quite similar, which people well know, I guess, that Ian was kind of the primary songwriter in EMF. But what struck me is how much your albums could almost be like remixes of EMF tracks you never heard or something like. It's true, we really can't stand you, but then again, we're so in or a few the games that you play are all so predictable. Now you're kicking like a real life video. Rock, scissors, paper planes, who bought dynamite to the game? 16 stones will break out both, but I try, but I can't leave it alone.
Yeah, I mean, when working with Ian, obviously I learned a lot from him, and I guess the way I structure songs now is in that vein of, you know, indie pop 90s thing, but I always had a passion for dance music. And you say, after I finished EMF, I did go into the wilderness for quite a while and just make dance records and learn to produce dance records. And I think now it's just a merging of that. And it's taken me quite a while doing my solo stuff. I kind of had to just realize what I can do and take the aspects of that. So it was always going to be about singing, and I did shy away from singing for years. And I just hated it. But you know, for the last 5 solo albums, I've quite enjoyed it. And I think it's funny you say, I found my voice because I was never really that confident a singer. But yeah, I kind of, it's an asset now, and I've only just realised that. It's a bit late, 25 years too late.
But so when you say, I mean, obviously you guys were so young, so it's impossible to kind of like really fathom really what you kind of went through for like most people in a strange way. But to hear you say, like you weren't a confident singer, but obviously you were a singer in a very famous band, and your voice was like super, super famous. Do you know what I mean? So like, how did you reconcile? I mean, as in like, how did that affect you whilst you were doing it? And tell us a little bit about then why you didn't want to end up singing, just because it's really interesting to me.
Yeah, I know. And I've only just realised that. I didn't really enjoy the experience at the time. I just didn't want to be a singer in a band. I mean, when we put EMF together, I thought I was going to be the guitarist. And we got into that first rehearsal, and Derry had a guitar, Zach had a guitar, I had a guitar. So we had to sort of divvy up the jobs. So, and I was just like, right, okay, I'll sing. And some of those original EMF demos, they're just like, it's just shocking. But I guess being in a band for a couple of years, touring, and you kind of get better. If, I was never a virtuoso singer, but yeah, it was a struggle.
Right.
So stupid. I mean, I should have just had a ball and enjoyed it instead of just being so it up about, And 2 out of 3 gigs I used to hate.
Really?
Sometimes when it was brilliant and I lost myself in music, it was fantastic, but it was very, self-conscious a lot of the time.
Yeah.
I'm moaning. It was a bore. It was great fun.
I think it's really interesting because, to anybody looking in, they'd just be like, oh, wow, that's like perfect. And nobody really knows. For example, I've been a massive fan of the band for ages, and I didn't know that simple story that you basically just took that job because it was like practicalities. Do you know what I mean? Like, so then all of a sudden, and you were really famous for really quick, and like your reputation as live band. Just on the last show we had Adamski, and he was saying like he took you guys on tour, and you blew him off stage every night. Do you know what I mean? So
he says that it was just an unfortunate time. It was like we started the tour with him, and we just released a single, and in the space of the 3 weeks of the tour happening, we were kind of climbing the charts, getting front covers of smash hits and stuff like this. So it felt like we were blowing him off stage, but it was our first ever tour. We were in the back of a transit van, and it was great fun. But Adam plays it down a little bit.
No, he's really nice, and I do.
When you mentioned Adamski, I saw a thing of Tonight Matthew I Will Be of you doing Blue Monday by New Order, and Adamski was on keyboards and you're on vocals, and is it Richard from Pop Will Eat Itself on bass?
Yeah, Richard's on bass. Yeah,
I wanted to talk about that. That's your new project, isn't it? That you've been doing for charity, isn't it?
Yeah, well, we did a run. Well, initially it was going to be a run of 10, but we squeezed one more in there. But it was just a chance to get together with friends and make some music. On the initial lockdowns, when it was all a bit weird and no one knew what was going on, it worked really well. And also just grabbing people so they couldn't really say no. It's like, well, what else are you doing? So you've got to do it. So yeah, it was fun.
Awesome. Yeah, wicked.
And Richard from Pop Will Eat Itself was playing bass when Lee and I saw you. The only time I saw EMF have seen EMF in the Scala. At the Scala, it was it 2007 or 8? I can't remember. Oh. Richard came and joined us for a little while
which was brilliant. I mean, me and Richard have been friends for years, all the way through Bentley Rhythm Ace, and we kind of hooked up because when EMF went to America the first time, we took Pop Will Eat Itself with us. We kind of chose our support acts a little bit on bands we were playing with. So we took Carter, we took the Stereo MCs. But yeah, me and Richard have been friends for a long, long time. It's been hard.
Yeah.
That gig at the Scala, what was funny about it was when we one of the things that was funny about when we went on the bus back on the way to Oxford, where we were living at the time, there were these girls who went on, and they had just been to see the Spice Girls and their comeback gig, and then it's so funny because like them busy going, oh, I text my mum to say during Mama, and then I was just remember like laughing at the, and then our younger brother saying, oh, that's very sweet, and me just being in a giggly more completely different mode than just doing Mama, you know. Although what was funny is a story when we used to listen in the car to Schubert Dip when we were really young. One thing, the track that comes, is it a hidden track or was it just
live at the Wilson?
that E ecstasy, and every time it goes motherfucker, I remember go sigh and almost in time all the time. Each time it goes motherfucker. So it was kind of like the disapproving thing of us hearing motherfucker. And like,
it became this sample.
So we can't.
On the end of it.
I'm actually slightly embarrassed, you know.
No, that's brilliant, because when we were I was probably about 10 or something at the time, so it was amazing to like have a song that said motherfucker and just get away with, and then my mum just going like showing her sign of disapproval but not turning it off, just like so it became for ages it would be like the thing, you know,
but yeah, I think that tape was well loved though in general, like I mean, because it was I said on the last show, so sorry if anybody's watching the show and getting the same stuff twice, but it fits because the one side was Schubert Dip, and then the flip side of it was live and direct, and so it was just like it was, and we just used to listen to it on a loop like all the time. It just wouldn't leave the car stereo at all. So yeah.
I do actually. I love live and direct. I still go back to that album. You know, there's something quite raw about it.
Yeah.
You know?
Well,
I was going to say, can you imagine being a school teacher now, but having motherfucker? It's just like. It's bad enough asking what EMF stands for. So.
Yeah, sure.
Regrets. I've had a few regrets.
No, it's brilliant. I think it's a good legacy to leave behind. Yeah, definitely. You know.
Yeah.
Because it always seemed like, you know, that's why when you say about like sometimes having this feeling when you were performing live, it always seemed like a really energetic, fun kind of sound, you know, like it was just always gave a really, even though there were obviously like deeper and, you know, more reflective songs on like especially later, but certainly the first time Schubert's Dip seemed like it was like, yeah, and the first time I heard of Schubert as well, so
yeah. It's super joyous as well, and to hear it when you're young, like, and you hear like it starts off with that epic start, and then it's like
children is just ridiculous.
Yeah, like, and the message that you deserve more than this world can ever give, and it's like it's a real like rallying call. It's like children. underrated stuff, I think, in a way. Like I still listen to all three of the albums like a lot, and they still sound really good to me. I don't know if it's like, you know, I'm just like lost for that time or whatever. Like Stigma as well.
You've been way too kind. I'm a bit worried. Ben, how old are you? Have you ever heard any of these albums?
Of course, yeah. I'm 43. I'm 43.
Oh, right, okay. You look about 18 from here.
Yeah, no. Like my abiding memory of your band is actually, I remember we went on a school trip to Wembley Stadium to watch like England schoolboys play or something. So this is like 1991. Okay. And I remember like our school was like, it was like a private school, so there was a couple of kids in there that were quite sort of well-to-do type thing. And I remember the EMF tune on it, and there was quite a lot of like these quite well-to-do kids on it, like singing along, feeling like very, very naughty at the back of the bus while that tune was on, because they were saying motherfucker as well, and that was like really, really very, very naughty, very, very rude for them. So yeah, no, that's in many, many ways that is kind of my abiding memory of your music. It's a weird kind of thing to say, that, isn't it? Because it's kind of a bit like it's sometimes like, no matter how sort of significant something is, it's sometimes the small things that you remember from your own life that really sort of takes you back somewhere, isn't it? You know, so it's like that's my abiding memory. The school trip on to Wembley Stadium at the back of the bus is what really reminds me of your music.
Yeah, there was also the football, along the lines of football. They would always show during the 1991 FA Cup one with Gaza. They would always play Unbelievable when they show bits of Gaza. So it would always be like, and as a Spurs fan, that like brings it even back. Like even when I was young and I listened to the song EMF, and then you say Forest Boys, I always thought you guys were from Nottingham because of Nottingham Forest.
Yeah. There are other forests, believe it or not.
Yeah, sorry about that.
I was totally gonna say about that. Like, I had this one little clip of Gaza's like highlights in the run to like the cup that year, which was probably the last time I was ever really super invested in football. And it all was a bit too much for me, I think. Like, it was such a heart-wrenching final that I couldn't give that much of me to like music and care about football that much or whatever. Like, I kind of made a conscious choice, and yeah, it's entrenched in my memory. Gaza scoring goals and Unbelievable is like totally a thing that is totally intrinsically linked for me. I wonder if it is for him. I wonder if it goes off in his head even now when he's just having a Sunday kickabout. Because suddenly he's like, he suddenly gets on form. It comes on someone's like car stereo nearby, and he goes, suddenly he's putting them in the back of the net, you know.
Who knows what's going on in Gaza's head?
It was a hell of a free kick in that cup final, though. I seem to remember. That was 91, wasn't it? Forest.
Yeah, that was the semi-final against Arsenal. I was Also, I didn't know Unbelievable actually sampled Spin That Wheel.
Really?
By DJ Hightech. Because I know that's tracked really well from the Ninja Turtles soundtrack. And there's a list of samples I didn't know that were on there, and that's one of them. We were just mentioning a Yar Kid the other day.
Okay, I'm not quite sure what sample that is, because the main one that that's Andrew Dice Clay.
Yeah.
The American
we know the film Ford Fairlane like relatively well, strangely, like really
well.
yeah. We were like in America at the time when Andrew Dice Clay was just getting quite big and stuff. So actually probably the peak of his thing, and probably when Dennis Leary was probably coming up and maybe kind of taking over, I guess, a bit, because he kind of ended up being the wise ass comedian in America, if you know what I mean, for a bit. But yeah, so yeah, cool. So what I was going to ask you is, so how did you so each of you, when you started getting, because I presume you took a break from making music then, or did you never take a break, James?
I did. I had quite a few years where I was just living off the fruits of EMF. I had a flat in Camden, and it was like 10 years of just partying, really. And I did have a little studio set up, and I like to think that I was in there honing my skills and learning, you know, probably off my head listening to a bass drum for 8 hours and stuff like that. But yeah, I didn't do a lot for a while. I had a little break after all that.
And what was the first thing? Did you first like play something, or did you make a beat, or did you write a guitar thing that you thought, oh yeah, this is something? What was the first kind of after having a bit of a break, the first thing that got you like, oh, you know what, I'm going to put this stuff out?
Well, the first thing that happened is I went on tour with Bentley Rhythm Ace, which was a bit of an eye-opener, because I mentioned before that I didn't have that great time in EMF, but all of a sudden I joined Bentley Rhythm Ace just as a keyboard player, just playing samples and noises and just enjoying myself. And it was kind of a bit like, it was an eye-opener just to see, oh, this is what I should have been doing for years. Just enjoying myself, not worrying about anything and going for it. So I kind of went around the world again, and this was the best experience ever. Just got to go to all those places again, like Japan, South America, and America. But this time with no pressure of being a frontman. That was my favorite bit of my music career so far. But I guess when I come back, I don't know what I did. I made a load of dance records and put those out, and then for my solo stuff, I think about 6 years ago I started writing a few little songs, and just thought, right, maybe I had a bit of a life change because I moved out of London and I moved to the Yorkshire Dales and on my own, isolation, and it just felt the right time to do a bit some solo music. And it was just a few songs, and I haven't really stopped since then. It has just been a continuous writing, and then I get 10, 12 tracks together, put an album out, and then carry on. And I've usually got an album on the go whilst one's been released. So.
And your partner's a musician as well. She's bassist in Fluke, right? So
she toured with Fluke for quite a while, yeah.
So do you kind of end up just doing stuff, and like she makes you do stuff and you make her do stuff, or is it? I mean, I kind of trust her judgment, because she's so much more into music than I am, and she listens to new music where I'll listen to, you know, New Order, Technique. I don't know if they've made an album since. What, new music? Why? After the Queen's dead, why listen to anything else? So she's really good, and she'll come in and help me structure things. And usually, if I'm overproducing stuff, she'll just say, "I'll pull it back a bit," or I trust her. And yeah,
like I mentioned before, we're out here on our own, and we haven't really got much of a social circle. It's not like we're in a city anymore or anything. So yeah, we're just getting on with it.
Nice thing. Cool. And yeah, so and Ben, it was like you back getting with guitar, wasn't it? Really? And basically your son being interested in guitar.
From when I was about 17 until I was about 35, I was doing music like pretty much all the time. Well, it was probably before I was from about 15 really, but it was kind of a bit like I was in proper bands with actual guitar amps and actual drum kits from about 16, 17. And I just done stuff kind of constantly really. And I think it's like I had that sort of period in the sort of early 2000s where I was in a band that gained a degree of notoriety amongst a certain niche audience, a small but vociferous audience.
Yeah.
And I just we kind of stopped that for kind of some of the reasons I've kind of explained. But it was like I was doing a band almost immediately after that, really. Again, that was slightly different. Then but once you get to kind of your late 20s and your early 30s, people start wanting to do things with their life, and they want to start go traveling, and they want to get jobs, and they get in long-term relationships and stuff like that, and just naturally
pay the rent, maybe pay the rent sometimes.
You have to wait. You want to have to pay the rent. You want to actually not live with your parents anymore at that age and stuff, you know. And I just think naturally, as well as your back starts creaking a bit as well when you're in your 30s. The idea of spending a lot of time sleeping in a transit van starts to become not as much fun as it was when you were 23, type of thing. Yeah. So I think like naturally you start, people start sort of dropping out of being in bands and start doing other stuff. So the last thing I did was kind of like, it was very much the tail end of like my mates who were kind of left able to do music because they were still sort of local and stuff like that. But again, it was like, it was starting to become a bit more electronic indie, which was nothing like the band, the Mighty Saguaro, which everybody kind of, well, say everybody, the people that know me for being in a band know me as. And it's, I was literally doing gigs sitting down, which was just, it was a ridiculous idea when I was 23. When I was 34, I would literally sit down and play guitar and make loads of crazy delay reverb noises and stuff like that. But I mean, that was kind of the last thing I was really sort of doing. And I had a really quite long extended break doing anything. And yeah, my little boy came along a few years ago. And probably when he was about 2, we started getting really into music. And I did explain this on the other interview we did, Lee, but the Beatles song Hey Bulldog and the video for that song, he just started getting obsessed with that song and that video. And like, I started playing guitar to it and stuff like that. And last year I kind of fixed all my old guitars up because they were completely covered in crap and dust and hadn't had the strings changed on them for about 9 years. And started getting into it again, bought a new guitar during lockdown.
Are you supposed to change strings, are you?
And I mean, put it this way, since I've been doing this, I've changed them like at least once. So yeah, it does make a difference. It does make a difference. Yeah, it's crazy. It's amazing.
I should try that. They might be coming up for like a nice 15, 20-year anniversary, most of my instruments.
Yeah. Well, I've got a bass guitar here, which kind of was, my older brother was in like a hardcore band in the kind of early 90s, and they did kind of okay as well. And he played bass, and he picked that up from another bass player when he finished the band. And that bass has changed hands, I don't know, 10 times in its life. And it ended up, my mate Liam, who was the drummer in Mighty Saguaro and my other bands have been in, he had it for about 6 years. And I picked it up early this year off him because I was starting to do some more stuff. And I brought it home, but the strings haven't been changed on that since about 1990 something. I mean, I literally, and it was like, it's got I'm sorry, I'm being a bit guitar nerdy now, apologies, but it's like, it's got like an active bass pickup in it, which means it needs a battery in it. And it was sounding really terrible, and I couldn't really understand why. So I took the bit off the back and put a new battery in it. And the expiration date on the battery was 1998. So I thought, oh, right, okay, yeah. So that's why it doesn't sound that great, right? But yeah, it was very much just picking up a guitar again and like playing a lot and playing every single day because I was into it again. And as we explained before, the more you play, occasionally you come up with something, you go, that sounds all right. And then when you do that, you go, I might actually try and record that. And then when you do and it sounds okay, you want people to hear it. And eventually people do hear it, and some people go, that's kind of good. And then
most people
you end up on a Vidcast.
Like.
There you go.
And most people just go, like.
Yeah.
Okay,
Nobody's actually...
I'll take it. Okay, fine, I'll take it.
Nobody's actually ever said that to me in words, but I've got a few likes, so that'll do me. I don't get the big pat on the back. That was sick, dude, anymore like I used to do, but I do get like. So it's just
well, I
the
mean,
same.
we haven't been to gigs for a little while. Maybe when we all go back, people will be like, instead of clapping at the end of the gig,
there'll be thumbs up.
Like, big thumb like.
Just hold big blue thumbs up in the air, exactly, on a stick. That'll do. That's just music now, right?
It can happen. And Grant, what possesses you to unleash your musics on the world and like, what do you feel about it? Do you just put it out, you make something, you go or no? Do you have stuff that you don't release? Do you have
No, I don't really. No, I don't like to throw anything away. I believe in like not wasting. So if that's an idea, I'll just chuck it out there. And but but yeah, no, it's just kind of a release for me, like just literally just something that isn't anything else I'm doing.
Where
like
do you
it's
start?
just a chance.
Where do you start?
Because
some people listening to your music might not know. Yeah, I mean, you might presume it's a beat, maybe, but
yeah, probably a beat.
Yeah,
probably a beat to begin
and so
with.
then
If
when it
not,
comes to you, so say when I send you a load of stems and you got to remix something, then where does it?
Then it may be lyric. Then it actually may be vocals, because I actually get excited about working with vocals, because I don't usually record myself doing any vocals.
Yeah.
So I think that becomes then really like a special thing to focus in on. Yeah,
right.
I'd say so.
Gotcha. Yeah, and so then like, so then where would you go from the vocal? So you've got you hear the vocals.
Got the vocals. I hear the vocals, then maybe a beat, or maybe yeah. So, but definitely, and then whatever goes with that. Keys usually will come last, because they always feel like you can put different layers when you're making. If you don't, like, for example, for me, I don't play an instrument, so when you're doing like when you're putting down something and you're using samples, or you're using loops, or you're using, then keys, I always feel like you can add to something and you can always put something over the top. It always feels like, whereas bass then would follow for me naturally after drums, or not just because drum and bass.
You use a lot of toilet paper as well, because
I do. Did you notice it? I've been edging it so subtly to like it's not show the toilet paper, just in case we have another panic on. I don't want to be like, oh, everyone, he's the panic guy who stacks up. It's just cheaper. To buy them. Whoops. Okay. Yeah. It's gone now. It's gone now. There will be like a bit of a continuity error if someone was to look at the editing.
It's the first time you've been on screen for quite a long time, and I was suddenly like, God, that's a lot of
There's a lot of toilet paper. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
But yeah.
It's just cheaper to get it that way, in bulk. Yeah.
So okay.
I went to church the other night, and I felt somewhat at ease. I thought I was a pretty good guy, and my Lord, I was trying to please. But when the preacher took the floor, my pride almost deflated. As the silent prayer took his text, this is what he said.
I realized that I sampled a sample from you, which is that it's a preacher going, I had a dream last night, and my Lord said to me something like that, and I nicked that.
You're going to sample me, I'm going to sue you.
Well, I've admitted it. I've not earned any money off the track yet, so.
Well, we did. We took off. It was a sample that we stole anyway. It was an amazing. It was off of vinyl, and it was a preacher going on for about 30 minutes, just doing a sermon. So yeah, like I said, you can have
great track, and great sample. Good choice.
Yeah.
but yeah. Okay, so you how do you, because all of you work like normal jobs, so then you're putting out your music, and how do you equate, like, so say for example you want to get like a certain amount of audience for it, that differs I'm sure between all of you, or maybe it doesn't, I don't know, but like obviously there's a certain amount of stuff that we all have to do, i.e. we either pay for some promotion, or we have to do a load of social media or whatever. What do you find like the kind of new challenges, like as you decide, okay, I'm gonna take this a bit further than literally just have a I guess even putting out SoundCloud now, and now SoundCloud might end up being the most earning thing of the lot now that they're changing their rules and everything. So yeah, you might actually in a little while you might be richer than all of us, Grant. So
I'm not so sure about that. It's just more the platform that you're most used to using. So I just stayed with that because I didn't have enough of a vehicle to justify having a website for it. So in which case I don't really do much social media, because I don't really like the having to stay on top and make sure you're plugging. It's hard work. It's not hard work, but it is. It's if you're not used to doing it, because it's its own hustle itself, isn't it? Like social media. So when you're already doing a job, it's tough, isn't it?
Yeah, it's good, and it's relentless how much you do have to. For me, it's all about just social media and digital marketing these days. I mean, thankfully, I don't have to go out and do gigs, even if we could do gigs. But I kind of feel like I've got to an age where I don't really want to do many gigs. But social media is the key, and then understanding how to connect with people, because certain things, like if you just put up a flyer or say I'm doing this, but like you kind of have to work it. You have to, if you put a great picture up or a video or an introduction, it's kind of the main thing for me is learning how to use digital marketing and social media. It's been complete, like an eye-opener, you know, where I will put up, you know, I'll make a video, put it out there, and it'll get a few likes, but then my wife will put a picture of the kids on her Facebook page. You know, and you're just like,
yeah, definitely. Or show your food, you know, or your travel photos.
Yeah, sandwich. You're more impressed than a whole album you made. Yeah, I know. Yeah. Did you have anything more to add to that, James?
Not really. I just like social media is just a massive part of my life at the moment. Not just, well, I guess because of lockdown and pandemics and things like that, but I can just see this being the way forward, and it has actually worked for me. And it's quite, I know Grant mentioned it can be a bit stressful and that, but it's quite nice, especially releasing your own records without a record label or, you know, management or, you know, big marketing budgets and stuff like that. It's quite nice to have that control, you know, build up a bit of a following through Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, reaching out to, you know, a few hundred people every Friday night when you do a broadcast or something. It's nice. It's kind of, it works for me where I am in my life at the moment.
Yeah, life affirming, I guess, as well. When especially as you're kind of on lockdown at the best of times, being out in the middle of nowhere anyway. So
I mean, you know, I don't have much of a social life these days, but me and Rachel, my wife, get in the studio here and we've got loads of Simpson guitars and bits and bobs hanging around. And for us, a night would be just making a tune and then maybe do a live stream or something like that, and that's kind of what we do and we enjoy. So I'd prefer better than going to the pub for us, you know.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. Well, the only reason I ever used to go to pubs was because they had venues in them anyway. So if they're gonna keep closing down all the venues, they're gonna lose my custom immediately. You know what I mean? So and Ben, obviously you're returning into this from like obviously dipping out like when there was social media, obviously, but it wasn't quite as I guess dominant and also I guess sophisticated as well.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. You talk about jobs. Doing a lot with digital marketing and stuff like that is kind of what I do for a job as well. So in many ways, it's a bit like promoing your kind of music is almost, it's a bit more like having a job, because it's kind of like I spend a lot of my time doing that stuff anyway for, you know, for work purposes type thing. But my God, I mean, it's such a huge change from daily, and especially at the moment as I've got kind of something out and there's quite a lot of activity going on around it, you really notice it on a kind of almost like a minute by minute sort of basis, really, about, you know, who's seeing what, how many people are seeing it, where it's connecting, you know, and what you're getting tagged into, all that kind of stuff. And I think back, you know, as I said, the last two bands I was into, yes, they were kind of, as the social media era was a thing, but definitely not as much of a thing as it is now. Yes, this sort of, the data has become a lot more complex. The data has become a lot more granular and a lot more easy to target things really, really specifically with. But I think the thing really, it's like that was kind of the case 8 years ago, you know, not possibly 10, 12, but definitely sort of 7, 8 years ago. You were definitely, Facebook advertising was starting to be a thing, and the ability to target things super specifically and stuff like that was there. but it was still basically kind of a broadcast mechanism, really, even then. It was just a different type of broadcast mechanism that, as James kind of alluded to, you have a bit more control over than you do the NME, right? So there was that ability to kind of create that own sort of community, and that fan base has been there for what, 15 years now, something like that. But yeah, I mean, it's just that so the data side of things is really, really interesting, but it's just the content side, the content creation, and the constantly creating content to go out there and keeping it fresh. That is, in many ways, it's just a different world, isn't it? It's like we're not doing gigs, and it's interesting to see what James saying about what sounds like a blissful existence in the Yorkshire Dales, making music at home, and not just like not being able to do gigs, but actually that being a really preferable and attractive way of actually doing it, right? And I can absolutely see why, because as much as the idea of standing in a venue with my mates playing, making a loud noise sounds great at that time, the faff of getting to that point doesn't sound hugely appealing to me right now, right? Because of life and all that, right? So it's kind of a bit like, there's so much you can kind of do at home, but it's a bit like, so it's not the effort of loading a van up, and it's not the effort of driving for 6 hours, but it is the effort of constantly thinking, shit, what am I putting out today? And how's it different to what it was yesterday? And how do I make it a bit different? How do I give a bit of added value? How do I grow that? How do I grow it? How do I grow it? How do I engage with people that are new? How do I engage with people that have been around for a little while? So it's a much more like admin. It can be fun because it's creative, but it's kind of a bit like it's doing stuff on the computer, which doesn't sound like a lot of fun if you'd have told me that's what I was doing 20 years ago.
I think also, if you look at like generationally, we're all from like a time when we can remember when there wasn't an internet at all. And then there's other people growing up who like basically see it as just almost part of life that they're content creators. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm 13 and I'm a content creator. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I think people sort of over 40, we still remember a time without the internet, and we still think about the internet as this cool thing. A small part of our brain, I think, as much as we use it every day, and it's completely embedded into everything we do with our entire lives every single day, 24/7. The small part of the over 40-year-old brain still thinks of the internet as that cool new thing, whereas actually digital natives, people that are sort of 35 below, it's like having a heated house. That's exactly what it's like. It's a utility in the same way that other things are a kind of utility. So it's a big mindset shift, I think. And I think like the bigger thing, I think I said this before, but it's like back in the day, my band that was kind of, successful-ish back in the early 2000s, it finished just as social media was coming out. So we had zero social media in that band, and like a year later everybody was on MySpace, and then it sort of moved to Facebook and stuff like that. So we just kind of missed that. We had like an okay-ish website, but promoting music, then we put a single out and we did it super punk rock and DIY. We pressed our own, we got a vinyl pressed on our own label and stuff like that. That for distribution was getting on a train to London with a rucksack full of records and walking around Portobello Road, right? That's what promoting your music was like then. And
same for me in reverse, just same for me, just the trains going the opposite direction.
It's going in the opposite direction to Manchester and Liverpool, exactly. So it's just changed overnight, and like immediately you could connect with people in the States or Australia or Canada or wherever. But how meaningful a relationship is that? I don't know. If they're listening to your music and you're liking it, meaningful enough, I guess. But
I guess we'll find out. I'm currently signing bands to the label from other countries, so I guess we'll see whether that kind of thing works. Do you know what I mean? Like, I like to think of like that when I reapproached Quickfix in terms of re-envisioning what it should be now. The idea was, well, we could do the same thing as we used to do, except we use the internet as the street. Do you know, where you used to bump into all these people, now you bump into on the internet, and hopefully it's a meeting of minds that is where you connect anyway, if you know what I mean. So as long as there's enough kind of, I guess, honesty in the, for want of a better description, transactions, by which I mean the transactions of thought and creativity, if you know what I mean. So as much as anything monetarily, as long as there's kind of like honesty with the whole thing, then hopefully you're working on the same kind of wavelength, I guess, is the idea, which is what the benefits of the internet was kind of, I guess, supposed to be in the first place, you know, connecting.
Exactly.
You know.
I mean, there's nothing really different. I mean, like the thing that, you know, the type of music that really sort of was my sort of, you know, cornerstone of my musical education is kind of punk rock and is DIY hardcore punk rock, and all that is the mythology of that is it's kids in inner cities in the States in the early 80s making their own records, sitting in a bedroom, cutting the record sleeves out and like going in a van round America, giving it to people to sell at gigs and stuff like that. It's just the same. It's just like you're not using paper anymore. You're just using the internet. And so in some ways it's freed so many people up to do whatever they want to do in whatever the way they do it, completely outside of any corporate control. Yeah. But the problem with that is, with that comes many more people doing it, which means it's even harder to be noticed. So,
and unfortunately, the corporate control, as soon as you want to be on Spotify or anything, that
absolutely
right
that's
back
still there.
Yeah. So in fact, maybe more than ever, because you're kind of less in control of you know, that kind of individual distribution system that you would have had in the old days, and also the kind of maybe the direct relationship, whereas you're reliant on another social media platform, i.e. a big company, for your actual platform for reaching people, as opposed to kind of like them, say for example, if they were just coming to a website, which nowadays is less of a trend than people just going to someone's page on a social media thing. Yeah, anyway, all good stuff. We shouldn't dwell on it too much though, but yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, so let's get into these videos then, and give some hopefully well-deserved promotion to some indie acts.
If the light just paints you black, don't be fooled, it won't be long. If it turns out you belong, take a hit and come along. Take the time to breathe and think, empty secret that you keep. In the distance you will see marks and marks and scars to be. When you lose control, take my hand, find another day to let go. You can pay them all, they will fall.
We'll start off in Salford with the Downers and their song JHM, and I guess let's go to Grant, because we haven't heard from him in a little while. And what did you think of them? And I guess, you know, break it down to music video and general artist for some points.
Okay.
At the end.
So I thought I'll get what I thought was the worst bit out of the way first. In the video, for the video, I thought that was like, while it was like really professionally shot, it was kind of like guys in a room. You see there's a singing drummer, which is for me like always a bit, I don't know, he's a bit strange. You know, like, because he's on the sofa and then it shows him also drumming, so it's like kind of, you could have left it, you know, I don't know, you could have had a robot drumming or something and had him on the sofa singing, or maybe he's on the sofa with drums.
Is this residual hatred of Phil Collins that's still will
never
really leave?
No, it's not even that as much as I think for when you're filming the video, right, so it's not live, so there's no need to show you're on drums and play. I don't know, there's something a bit awkward about it, but for me anyway. So the video I thought was like, not, whilst shot really professionally, I thought because it wasn't doing much was not as fun for me. But I would say, like, in terms of what the other things, the song was good. I liked the song a lot. That was actually, it was a little bit unexpected in some ways. And I was going to say, it's reminding me a bit of, there's bits of Duran Duran there, like with like the bass line and stuff. And I thought the guitar was quality. I thought really good guitars. And with the artist, I made some notes. That's why I'm looking that way.
I presume
and
so.
with the and with the art, I'm not just looking away to like look at the video as it's on. And with the artist, I checked out a couple of other stuff. So there was some other stuff I wasn't as sold on. So I think the two other videos I saw of theirs, I thought this was the better song, but I still think they're kind of their potential is to do a lot. There was still some good guitar work in the other song that I heard. One of the other songs I heard. There's one acoustic one I heard, and there was another one. And so that's
cool.
It,
cool. Yeah. I thought with regard to the track, it was quite surprising. I thought it was going to be quite electronic at first, and then it came in with quite a big rock thing. In a way, what I said to the band themselves were, if the new Smashing Pumpkins album had been as much like as a nice balance between rock and electronic as that was, I would have.
It was a really nice band, and probably a better blend than maybe even the last Pearl Jam album. That some of those songs where it sounds very electronic, and the drums were good. So his singing and drumming is not a problem. Like individually, it's just.
Don't do them at once.
I don't see why I needed to see him doing them both in the video, as it wasn't live anyway. I don't know. It's just for me.
I bet he doesn't think there's anything different about it all.
No, sure. I'm playing it. That's what I do. Yeah. I'm saying that's on me. That's not on them necessarily.
My math is notoriously bad, so I will ask you what you said, but I'll end up adding it.
I didn't give you a score, but are you having 0.5s? Because you said out of 3.
If you want, you can,
So I'm giving the video a 1. Sorry, even though it's made really well.
Okay.
It's because of what there's sofa in a room, and you'll see by the other videos that I rate something going on in it, even if it's not well made sometimes. The song I'll give a 2.5. A really good song. And artist I'll give a 2 because I'm still in the middle. Don't know. But good, definitely good.
Cool.
2 is good, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Well, it's out of 3.
When it's only out of 3, you can't. You can't see. It sounds halfway, so it sounds medium and indifferent. But I mean it more like.
It's worth checking out. I think 2 is.
Yeah.
Definitely. 2 point, like a 3 is like, this is definitely check this out 100%, and then 2.5 is like, I'm almost, I don't know, you can decide what they mean to you, I guess. Okay, cool. Okay, James, what did you think?
Right, it was refreshing to hear some new music. Thank you for that, guys. I think I'd missed something here because I listened to the track and I absolutely loved it, and you're going to get me to comment on the video, and I wasn't really taking much notes of the video, so I thought I was just listening to the music. They can obviously write a really good song, quite established. It sounds quite established songwriting. I've got an issue where I think they might. I don't know if it's an identity problem, not problem, but I'm just wondering if people might have trouble connecting with them because I couldn't quite understand what genre it was. It was like it had pop, rock, but it also had a bit of a funky groove going on. So I was just wondering, maybe people might have trouble latching onto it genre-wise. I didn't have a problem. Well, did I have a problem with the drummer singing? I just thought of Karen Carpenter. I didn't think of Phil Collins.
Good shout.
Kind of.
He's the Karen Carpenter of the Mancunian rock scene. I think you probably like that.
She's great. So, I think it was really good. I
just want to call you up, actually, James. You realise if I described EMF to someone, I'd say it was kind of poppy and dancey with like this funky, like kind of groovy thing, but also some rock bit.
Okay, all right, I'll let you have that. I actually would have checked a few of their other tunes out because I was slightly a bit concerned that it was sounding very overproduced. very smooth and friendly, and I don't want to say middle of the road because I think that's really offensive to say that to someone, but I thought maybe it might be a bit more edgy on some of the other songs, but I couldn't quite find that. And then I was thinking maybe I've got a problem with modern music. I don't understand what is going on. Maybe things have definitely changed, haven't they? But obviously, they were very talented musicians, great songs, great voice, actually. I really did like his voice, very emotional and stuff. So I can give you some marks.
Yes.
And that's another thing as well. I didn't realise I had to give marks.
Well,
I'm rubbish at this. So I'm going to go
out of 3.
only because I know what my other, because I've got 3 tracks to go through, 2 other tracks, and this, I can't really say it was my least favourite, but I really like the other ones. But I think this band have got something, and I think people are going to really like them if they can people can jump onto it. So I'm going to give the song a 2, and I can't really remember the video. Can you remind me what the video was? Oh, he was drumming, then sitting on the couch, isn't he, and stuff. So, yeah.
This video now starting to sound quite legendary because everyone just said, "Oh, the one where he drums and then he's on the sofa." Yeah, I know that.
That was the thing, wasn't it? Yeah. Okay. So yeah, it was okay. It didn't rock my world, but it didn't offend me.
So what was the grade for that? Was that 1?
A 2. I'm going to give a 2 for the song, and I'll give a 2 for the video.
Right, and the artist in general vibe.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I know. I mean, I wish them all the best of luck and everything. Maybe it's just not my thing.
So but, 2 maybe, I guess.
Yeah, I feel like Robert Smith now.
Yeah.
I'm not going to stop knocking on my door or anything, are they?
What, a bit mopey?
Right.
Yeah, okay, Ben.
Go on,
Ben,
sorry.
what do you...
Yeah, no, interesting one, this. I think it's the thing that really struck me is that it's like, as Grant just sort of said, it's, and James actually, but I think Grant said as to begin with, it's super professional and it's really slickly done. I think the video on its own terms is super profesh and like super well produced, and like I think there's not much of a kind of a narrative in the video, but it's kind of a bit like, I think the narrative is that here's 3 hot guys in cool clothes doing cool sounding popular rock music, and so in that respect I think it works perfectly well, right? I don't think it's meant to be doing anything other than saying, look at these cool looking guys in awesome clothes. I think that's kind of what it's kind of the point of it. It's a genuinely promotional video, I think, that one, right? And it kind of in that respect it sort of works. There's not much of a story behind it, but that's okay, because I don't think that's what it's there to sort of do. I think the music itself is kind of an interesting one. It's like, it's mega pop. Like you know me, Lee, I like loud guitar music that's poppy and has a tune to it. So you would think I would love this, and I do it totally works again on its kind of own terms. It's maybe not majorly my thing because it is so sparkly and well produced, and I like things to be a little bit more punky than that, possibly. But I think what's really interesting about it is like, it's an amazing example of that type of like emo tinged poppy rock that does really well on like MTV Rocks and stuff like that. I can totally see it on that, and it feels very, very at home in that kind of company. So I don't know, who would you, they talk about Foo Fighters quite honest, a bit, which is interesting.
The way you describe that super produced kind of thing, that's what I think about Muse, and everybody thinks that they're like, but I'm always like, oh, they just sound too polished to me. Do you know what I mean? But then if I went and saw them, I'm sure I'd be impressed. Like,
totally. I think I would be probably too with these guys. It's mega produced, but I think on that, the audience they're probably looking for is that kind of MTV Rocks audience. So it's Muse, it's probably My Chemical Romance, I guess, like Foo Fighters. That's sort of the people who like rock music that this sounds really disparaging, but it's again totally not meant to be, that aren't mega into rock music, but it's rock music that people who aren't into rock music would like, I think. And that's not an insult at all, guys. If you're watching, it's a bit like, not everybody can invest the amount of time in music that you guys clearly do, because they've really honed that craft very, very well. I think it's just a case of like, it's so produced and so poppy that it's a bit like, it's maybe a little bit too sparkly for me. But I also looked at some of their other stuff, and again, they can really play, and the guy's got a really nice voice, and there is, again, I think as James said, there's some really good songwriting in there. I can see it doing really well with people who really like that type of music. And actually, if you look at their YouTube comments, it's probably the only one of the three where there are hundreds of YouTube comments going, lads, this is sick, this is awesome, awesome performance, love you guys. It's all that kind of thing. So with that sort of probably younger audience of people who are maybe not super into rock music, but you know, like a bit of rock music, or people that will probably latch on to a band that are obviously super on it and super professional and super have their shit together big time in a way that no band I've ever been in has. It's a bit like, you know, in that respect, I think they will do very, very well. It's possibly not majorly my thing, but I think on its own terms, it works very, very well.
Awesome. You got any scores?
I'm going to go 2s across the board, because I think like they're obviously a really good band. Like they can totally play, they can sing well, they look cool, and they have nice, clean, cool clothes. And the video is really well produced, not much of a story, so not very memorable, but on its own terms, as a promotional video, it works really well.
We all remembered the sofa.
We remember the same thing, so maybe we do. But that's the band being memorable rather than the video being memorable, possibly the singing drummer. Because we all think about Phil Collins or Karen Carpenter.
Is that sofa?
The sofa and
was it a sofa or was it Chaise Lounge?
Chaise Lounge. I think we're demoting it, aren't we?
It's kind of a Chesterfield sofa, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so what would you give for the sofa, guys?
The grand DFS sale, where every sofa's handmade to order.
Well, I remember, because I forgot to mention, I don't know if this is the fault of the song or the video, but doesn't it fade out when it doesn't need to, and it feels like it's getting good? There's some guitar like playing, and it just goes fades out, and you know,
it does. Okay. It's like, oh, that bit could go on for a bit.
That bit could go on for a bit. So is that the fault of the video or the song? I'm going to put that on the video.
I think it's the fault of the way that, I would say it's the fault of the way that singles are kind of front loaded, if you know what I mean. So you've got like, oh, we've got this other idea, but we'll just use it as tail out because we don't want to keep people for too long. Do you know what I mean? Sure. So I think like the modern like that's what I was going to say about the age group. Like these young guys, we were lucky enough that we had like loads of really dirty sounding like kind of rock bands as well as the clean ones. Whereas all they've had is like, they have literally had those Muse and the Foo Fighters, and like, that's kind of it. Do you know what I mean? Like so to them, they're like almost like the Led Zeppelin to us or something. Do you know what I mean? Which is really interesting because, you know, their dad's age group bands or whatever, do you know what I mean? Is Foo Fighters, and half of them are dead as well. So like loads of those ones aren't going, like all the grungier ones and stuff, like most of them. So we never, do you know what I mean? So I think rock that has been in the mainstream has sounded very polished for quite a long time now.
It's definitely like a Radio 1 rock band. As opposed to a Six Music rock band.
That's I was going to say, you'll have to be my judge of that. I haven't listened to Radio 1 in ages.
Normally.
Cool. Okay, wicked. So let's move on then. Let's switch it up to Days from Oxford. Keeping it in England still, and they had a new single called Yourself.
I haven't seen your colours lately. I haven't seen you acting yourself. Is it true
you can see it's real bedroom lo-fi pop stuff. And yeah, they're relatively very new, I would say, and very young, as you could see. Ben, you're on screen. Go for it.
Oh, really? Am I? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. I love this. My favorite of the three. I'm sorry, you know, to Blackout Orchestra, but I prefer this to you. It's really, really good. I think the song is really beautiful. It's really nice melody. I genuinely was singing it in my head for a few days after hearing it, and I listened to it several times, not just for homework, but because I really, really liked it. I think it's like, I think as an idea, as a kind of a duo, I think that they've really embraced the sort of the low production values of the video, and it really works, I think, because it's very obviously quite homespun. It's very obviously like a bedroom dream pop type thing. I think the songwriting is really good in it, and I think it's really well produced, and I think it feels quite heartfelt as well, and it feels quite genuine what they're singing about. I think there's some real talent there, actually. I think it was brilliant, and I think the video very obviously just done on an iPhone in a forest and put together on iMovie. I can tell because like some of the fades I very often use myself on iMovie, but because of that, but because they've obviously embraced that, they've embraced those kind of technological limitations, and they've just made it work within its own context. I think it really does. The visuals do really, really add to the song, and I think it's like. I think there's a lot going on in the song as well. It is kind of quite lo-fi dream pop, but a lot of the guitar playing I think is brilliant in it. And I think the mix of the guitar and the synths and the harmonies and the melody is fantastic. I really, really loved it. And I'd love to hear some more from this band because I thought they were great. So 3's all around for me.
Really? 3's awesome. Wicked.
Yeah,
good stuff.
3's all around.
And yeah, I mean, do check out, they've got a song Fool for You, which was the one that hooked me on them like loads, and is like, I everything you say about that one, I totally was about with the first one I heard from them, which was Fool for You. So maybe it's just about when you kind of discover them and they've got it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so, but yeah,
really, really
it's strange. Yeah, I know what you mean about like there is some sophisticated stuff. I did think of Strangely Roxy Music when I heard them, whilst thinking of kind of, you know, the more lo-fi kind of indie kind of things.
I'm kind of the obvious kind of stepping off point is probably like Beach House or something like that, right? So but there's another dream pop duo basically, but like it definitely is a very worthwhile contemporary for that. It's the kind of, when you're talking about radio station, I can totally hear myself listening to this on Lauren Laverne on Six Music coming home from the school run. It's totally the kind of song that wouldn't sound out of place there, and it's and total compliment because it's really, really good as well. It's really good.
Awesome. James,
I'm a fan.
You know what, I absolutely loved it. I thought it was amazing. It took me back to a time, indie schmindy guitars, dreamy, bit shoegazy. It just did it for me. I thought it was brilliant. Great guitar playing, great melodies, really summery. I was very impressed. It was right up my street. Yeah, I loved it.
Brilliant, awesome.
All I can say is I loved it.
have you got? Can you give me some grades, or just a big gold star? Is it just?
Can we only do out of 3? Can we?
Yeah.
The only issue I'm going to have is, I mean, there is a lot of that kind of stuff because it's on a simple level. I don't know how they're going to pop their heads over to make it stand out from a lot of that stuff that is around now and has become before. So I think they might have a battle on their hands to stand out. But
well, I'm sure the singer from EMF saying that he loved it will help a little bit at least. That's quite good. So you've done your bit already. That's good.
And yeah, like Ben said, I'm quite happy, and you know, I would go and listen to that track now, not just for homework. It was great. Yeah, I'm going to give it 3s across the board.
Wicked, awesome. I'm sure they'll be really happy. They're like really nice pair of people as well. So yeah, it's well deserved. Excellent. Grant.
Yeah, I thought it was. Yeah, I agree completely with everything the guy said. And love it. Song really catchy, really catchy. Like I've only heard the song twice and I remember it really well. So I don't really almost need to listen to it a few times because it's in there, you know. It's, yeah, I thought the video, I was going to bring it back to how something's going on more than in a room. So
yeah,
it's outside of a room. And
which
and the
in
video,
these days is amazing, right?
which
Like,
is
oh, you're
great. Yeah,
outside.
well done for getting out and everyone not around you also going for a walk, you know. The video and the song has a kind of innocence to it, and so it feels really, as Ben said, it feels like quite genuine and quite like heartfelt or something like that. So yeah, and is this song something where you had it on your, did they come on your open mic
Yes,
night?
yeah, Days have
They
been
played
on the open
acoustic.
mic
They
a
played
couple of
it.
times.
They
Yeah,
played it acoustically, didn't they? And it
yeah,
was really, because then that's how I remember it. And I was like, oh, I've heard this song before. And
right,
yeah, because it's that distinctive. So yeah, and it's yeah, and the video reminds me of something where you used to stay up and be stoned and watch like MTV2 or something, and it would come on, and you don't know if it's really well produced or if you're just mashed, you know. Like it's got this really nice, it's got this really nice feeling about, you know, like yeah. So yeah, I agree. Threes all round, pretty much.
Yeah, wicked, awesome. That'd be very happy with that. Yes, yeah. Whilst you mentioned it, I might as well advertise that on the first Sunday of every month, Quickfix do an Insta Live open mic, whereby it's just free for all. Everybody just comes and they can play a song, and it's pretty rough and ready, but something really like does actually come through about that, if you know what I mean. Like something about the real talent does, if someone can just be in a room and sing it and not be great sound and not be whatever, and you still get something, then and there's a weird connectivity that has obviously during these last, you know, last year or whatever been like really good about it, if you know what I mean. But yeah, cool, good spot. Yeah, I forgot that they played quite a few times as well, so you would have seen them through that. Great, so that's threes all round for them.
I put the same thing. I said like nice vocals. I said nice, I think I said nice things about everything that everyone's already said in better ways. Especially Dream Pop. I'm impressed with like coming up with a title for something like, because I didn't know how to phrase it. So thanks for calling that.
Yeah, Dream Pop's a genre apparently.
Yeah, I didn't. I didn't.
Yeah, it's quite a popular genre. I think there's a whole Spotify playlist about Dream Pop. I can. It would be very worthy contemporary on any of those. It's really, really great.
Right, wicked, awesome. That would be super chuffed.
It's like, yeah, is Oxford Dream Pop kind of a bit of a thing then? Because I'm noticing there's a few kind of little artists like that around.
I think Oxford's just a big indie schmindy town in general, isn't it? Really, so it kind of ends up being that. I think it ends up just a certain chunk of Oxford music has always been kind of like, if not jangly, then you know, in like in that kind of clean guitar over distorted guitar thing, if you know what I mean, which I found really frustrating some of the time when I was in Oxford. Do you know what I mean? Like trying to get them to rock a bit more. There's certainly
because and when you do rock, usually then it's metal, nothing in between. It's like, oh, okay, that may not be what I'm feeling at the moment, like that heavy, you know.
Yeah, if you've grown up on like
melodic and heavy, do you mean like
if you've grown up on the Nirvana, that kind of side of things, then you're kind of like, oh right, so everybody just is either totally distorted or totally clean, but nobody does that kind of nice like bit of both.
I think there's too many people who think that's too much of a throwback to a scene, you know, like too many people are so like worried at that's very 90s, and it's like, what's wrong with that?
Concerned about whether it's good music rather than whether it has a genre attached to it. I agree that things shouldn't be willfully copyist of a certain thing for, you know, like kind of not quite sinister reasons but arch reasons or whatever, but at the same time, like music gets recycled. That's the whole kind of point of it, really, isn't it?
Were they from Oxford then? Because they sounded like Scandinavian or sort of up that way to me. They kind of had that, like the dream pop thing, like you said.
Right, yeah,
so.
like a Cardigans thing or something like that.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, okay, I can see that. Yeah, definitely. I was going to ask, actually, just because on the topic of videos, I asked Adamski just what experience you had of videos and whether you had any fun memories or whether you worked with anybody cool or anything. I know, obviously, for Cha Cha Cha, you had the photos were taken by Kevin Westerberg, weren't they?
Yeah, Kevin was had a big part of the imagery on that album and the EP before it. Yeah, some videos were good. The one we managed to get to Lanzarote, that was quite nice. Awesome. That was about the exotic we had Don Letts do one, which is great. I think he did Children. Yeah, they were good. Long days, you know.
Yeah, long summer days.
Yeah.
Long hot summer days driving out.
Long hot summer days. Right? There's so many times I've been quite wanting to drop one in though. When you said I'm at that age, I was going to say your boy of an age, and then there was another time where Ben was saying about his good and said, "Long live the new flesh," you know, like that was.
Brilliant. You could have just done it and not told me.
Yeah. Oh yeah, just chuck. Yeah. Tempted always to chuck in things when it reminds me of a lyric.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the Blackout Orchestra, and it was nowhere near the Looking Glass, I think was the name of the song. Are you on screen, James? So why don't you?
Okay. I liked it. It kind of resonated. I grew up. Before I was into acid house and dance music, because I was a goth and I loved goth music. I grew up listening to the Sisters of Mercy and the Cure's pornography albums and things like this. So it kind of, yeah, I liked it. It's a strange one. It didn't excite me, but I liked it. I like the drones and the building of textures, and it was kind of, you know, I can imagine some tortured soul absolutely loving it and connecting with it. Yeah, exciting, no, but it was interesting. Time and a place, I think. I would definitely go and check the rest of the album out. I did go and check another couple of their songs, and they're quite quirky and a bit otherworldly, aren't they? It was definitely that Canadian vibe going on and stuff. Yeah, I enjoyed it. And, you know, I know we're not rating the songs in order, but it was definitely sort of my mid-favourite out of the three. Yeah.
Cool, awesome. Can you give me some grades? What about the video as well? Like, obviously they had the
video was quite intrusive because he was very close on screen, and it could probably make a few people feel a bit uncomfortable. And yeah, it was. I preferred the music. I think it's one of those records. It's more of a listening record than, you know, a visual thing that you need to enhance it with a video. So yeah, I think probably the video didn't really do much for me. It obviously didn't engage. I didn't take notice of it, so it didn't engage me that much. But I love the music.
When I listened to the album, being honest, I didn't really feel like it needed any visual stuff, because there's such a lot going on, like, as you say, with the textures. It's quite a I don't want to say like a mature like listen, but like in a way it is a mature listen, because you have to give it a bit. Yeah, cool. Okay, Wicked, you got any grades for me?
I give a. Are we doing 0.5 grants? We can do
Sure.
0.5.
Yeah, we can. Can't we? I'm sorry. Ask the.
You started
the
this.
score. Yeah, I'm sorry.
I'll do 1.5 for the video, and then I'm gonna do. Do you know what? I actually really liked it. So if I liked it, I'm gonna have to give a 3 for the song. 3 for the song.
And artist-wise, excited, not excited, want to know more?
Yes, I would want to know more, and I will definitely check the whole album out. I can imagine it's an album, one of those albums that you have to listen to from start to finish, you know, rather than singles jumping out and tracks and stuff like that. So it seems like it just will be a montage of textures and dynamics, because it was all about builds, wasn't it, and stuff like that. And
it really is. It really is.
The timbres and stuff like that coming in. So I would, I'd definitely go and check it out again.
Cool. Go on, then give me a number for the artist.
For the artist, I'll give it 2.5.
Okay, awesome. Okay, cool. Go on then, Ben.
Oh, okay, right, yeah. So I've got very similar thoughts to it, to James, actually. I thought musically, I quite liked it. I thought it sort of reminded me, again, sort of quite gothy, Cure. It kind of reminded me a bit of sort of the kind of late 90s Radiohead a little bit before it went electronic. It was quite interesting. I definitely would like to hear more about it. And as you say, it's got that sort of slightly baroque kind of textural kind of gothy indie thing to it, which is kind of like for a certain mood. It feels a little bit not like Sigur Rós, but that sort of genre, you know what I mean? That's sort of like, it's not pop, it's not indie, it's not rock, it's kind of somewhere in the middle. It's quite poetic sounding. There's a lot of sort of textures to it. For it being, as you described it, kind of a melancholic bedroom indie, it's really impressive for that. It's very atmospheric. It's not a super memorable melody in the way that the other two are, but I don't think that's necessarily to its detriment. I think it is an interesting song with a lot going on in it, and it does sound good, and it's kind of that. I can imagine it kind of like, you know, driving through somewhere kind of moody and mountainous and gothic kind of thing. In Canada, maybe, for example, you know? Parts of Canada, possibly, you know? Yeah, it's definitely got that vibe to it, and it definitely kind of works musically. I kind of was quite interested in the sound of it, and yeah, it's got, and I think for all the fact that it's quite dark and kind of moody and quite sort of threatening in a way, he's got quite a nice voice, if that makes sense, right? He's got quite a melodic voice, and it's kind of and I think that's kind of a nice contrast with the kind of darkness and the kind of moodiness of the actual kind of instrument mix, if that makes sense. So yeah, I think they're really interesting. I'm going to say he, or I'm going to say they.
Yeah, I think it's a he, or it's a they. I think I would say, just saying on that, the production, just really over the album, really like you're kind of, whoa, this is pretty impressive. Like for a dude doing, do you know what I mean? Like doing it. Yeah, it's really impressive. And then the other thing was just that when you were saying about how dark it is, like at the same time, because of his voice, you can imagine people who are kind of more into like say like Flaming Lips or Mercury Rev and that kind of thing, that they could easily latch into it without it being like a huge stretch, I feel like.
Absolutely. That's exactly right. It's Mercury, sort of latter period Mercury Rev, late 90s Mercury Rev. Definitely there's a strong element of that in it as well. Kind of works really well. The video, I have quite complicated thoughts about the video, and I don't want to go too serious, but I think like what James was saying there is like some people might find it a bit I can't remember the word he used, kind of a little bit kind of disturbing maybe. I think, again, without getting too serious about it, I think when you sent the link round and I kind of had a look at it, it was literally in the wake of the Clapham Common
wow, that's
that weekend ago. So basically the opening scene is a kind of a young woman walking down the street and essentially being abducted. So in that context, it felt quite a disturbing watch, really. And I think, like, I know that's obviously not what he was trying to express in it, but I think, like, it was obviously that sort of twisted fairy tale thing, which again is a kind of narrative that's used quite a lot. Maybe, I don't know, too much. I don't know. Who knows? So for others to judge. But I think, like, I don't know. I think the video wasn't as good as the song, and I think it could be a bit disturbing to people, and not necessarily in a whoa, changing my perceptions kind of disturbing, in a kind of a bit like maybe he should have found a different metaphor for what he was trying to express. Right. I think, like, I wonder in that, like, I'm gonna think. I've tried to think of a way how to kind of explain this, so it's not like, you know, kind of having, you know, being overly critical, because I think it's kind of like, the video is obviously well done, right? I think the use of color is really interesting in the video, because it's kind of mostly kind of this wiped out black and white, but with pops of purple and pops of red and stuff like that. So in that respect, it's kind of skillfully done. Kind of how I thought about it is the same kind of way I think about Scandinavian drama on telly, right? So you can ask me about any kind of Netflix series of the past 10 years, and I'll probably go, no, I haven't seen Tiger King. No, I haven't seen The Queen's Gambit. I've just watched about one episode of Breaking Bad, but every single Nordic drama that's been on BBC 4 for the past 15 years, I've probably watched every single one of them. And what's kind of interesting about them, obviously, is like, they're usually these brutal murders, and it takes about 15 episodes to figure out what's happened and all this kind of thing. And it's usually like a cop, you know, a grizzled cop who's got an alcohol problem and all this kind of stuff. And kind of like, how I kind of thought about this video in the same way that I kind of increasingly think about that genre of TV, which is basically like the whole subtext behind these kind of Nordic noir dramas is basically like, hey, you think about Scandinavia and you think about these perfect societies where everybody's incredibly happy and like all that kind of stuff. And like, the Nordic countries always get like the happiest countries in the world from the UN and all this kind of thing. So why do they do this very dark drama and stuff like that? And I think the subtext very clearly for all these stories is very much beneath the apparently kind of like innocent surface. Darkness reigns. Darkness is there within all of us, and I kind of get that. But very often, certainly in the probably earlier period of that genre of telly, a lot of it was basically, whenever you read the synopsis, it's always like a series of brutal murders of young women in a town, in a fishing village in Iceland has happened, and or it's very much a young woman is brutally raped and murdered in the suburbs of Stockholm, and it's that, and it's very much like that metaphor is always used for this loss of innocence and this darkness of the human soul. So it's a very, very well used metaphor. But I think as male artists, be we filmmakers or musicians or whatever, we need to find more creative metaphors to describe the darkness of the human soul and of loss of innocence. And I think like that kind of is on all of us. It's not a criticism necessarily of this artist. I think that's kind of on all of us. And so in that respect, it very much came watching it in the wake of that terrible event the other week. It made me think a bit like, oh God, this doesn't feel kind of right watching this anymore. But I think there's something there a bit wider where I think we need to start thinking about how we express that darkness of the soul and that loss of innocence, which are inherently interesting subjects. But I think we just need to find other ways of maybe showing how we talk about that in future. If that's not too worthy an answer.
No, I think that's a fairly valid enough point. And obviously you should like, also I was just thinking, surely by this point, if you had like 10 years of murder things from Scandinavia, surely it's not that safe anymore. Like we kind of know that now, right? Sure, when does it stop being shocking anymore? Like, you know,
well, they're usually isolated incidents in isolated fishing villages, and they have there's usually a link with the detective trying to figure it out. So it's not like there's just tons of murders all over.
So the idea is, if you're a tourist, stick to the main cities. Don't go to these little fishing villages. They're very dangerous.
Exactly.
So, yeah, okay, Grant, sorry. Yeah, so sorry, did you have grades out of those actually, Ben?
Yeah, so I think music will go 2. I quite liked it. It wasn't as, I didn't like it as much as kind of the other one, but I think, and the artist will go 2.5 as well, because I think I definitely want to hear more. Video will go 1. I wasn't keen on the video.
Okay, Grant.
Okay, so I'm not gonna disagree with anything that was said, but I am gonna say that I'm not a mature listener, and and so as a mature, when people say it's not it's more of a mature listen, I'm not as interested. And I am simple, and I do like, and I'm a sucker for dark twisted fairy tales, and I like things that happen in the video. I also think there wasn't there a bit at the end where the woman actually goes and kills the guy at the end or something, and it's like actually
it's a
that's the twist. I mean,
it's a poly,
so it's kind of at least
kind of thing, isn't it?
At least it puts like the power back in the hands of the female at the end. So I didn't feel as bad. I completely get what Ben's saying, and I completely acknowledge the bigger picture. But I think this, I thought it was really well made video, an interesting to watch video. And I'd feel a bit strange giving other ones 3 and not this one a 3 because of the amount of work and the clear entertainment value I got out of it. Not necessarily I opened my mind or anything, but it was entertaining.
I found it a compelling watch.
And I'm just a sucker for that kind of thing, you know, like Wizard of Oz when it was Return to Oz. You know the kind of things. As Ben said, it's been done many times, and the reason it's done many times is there's people like me who love it, you know. So and luckily I haven't seen enough Nordic things to put me off the idea. But I did go to Finland like a couple of years ago, and apparently there is a really high suicide rate, and it's linked with the lack of sunshine. So I think there's part of these things are being made to get the feeling out there, the dark thoughts, you know, and hopefully that they don't kill themselves. Instead, they do this.
Create art,
dark,
dark,
I don't know,
art.
like maybe,
exactly.
maybe I'm not justifying like.
Glorification of anything. I don't think
maybe there is some kind of working out some. That's not to say when I say it's a mature song that I didn't like the song, but it went a bit over my head. How because I'm maybe not a musician on the same level as the other 2 gentlemen in the room, or yourself included, other 3 people here, I don't appreciate necessarily everything, but I do say I love Baroque as a great description, Ben, very Baroque, and their vocals, while he's got a good voice, maybe it's a bit too nice. I thought it was a bit like Chester Bennington's voice, where you feel it's a bit disappointing sometimes. And I like a nice voice, but like when it's with dark music, I don't know. I was expecting something. Maybe again, I'm saying this is on me, not on the artist. What I want out of my.
It was funny.
song,
The last
you know?
last week, Finley, most of his criticisms seemed to be based around what he would do with the tune if it was his. He's like, I just thought it should have been a bigger beat, or like it should have been. It's like basically what you're saying is you want to produce all these bands, you know.
But I don't want to sing over the top of this, if that's what you're saying. I don't want to. And the guy has a great voice. So, and I did look up a couple of other artists, other videos by the artist. So I have to say there is a good, even if it's not my thing as such, you know, there's completely hats off to them without taking off my hat. But really good. Really good.
Awesome. You
got one thing I will say about the song, the song, as it was building, again, I'm not saying I could do better, but I was hoping it was going to get heavy at one point, like really heavy before it closed. So I don't know, like it was building, and I don't know, I just felt a bit like, what about some drums kicking in, or I don't know, like I don't know. So I think a little bit
could go one louder. You wanted the spinal tap.
just a little bit on that final. I don't know, like again, I want my
Ben might pretend to be all indie over there, but he's the first person who ever introduced me to Manowar. So he's not averse to a big mountaintop solo and some humongous crashing power riffing and stuff. So
absolutely not. Absolutely not. I mean, I think there's an element of like, it reminded me in the beginning of it, kind of like Godspeed You Black Emperor a little bit, but kind of like a poppy version of that. And that always starts off with this kind of textural, quite dark, but quite softly. And then that goes crazy every single time, usually after about 12 minutes.
Yeah, I was going to say, like a pop version of Godspeed You Black Emperor is doing the same thing in 7 minutes, isn't it? It's like, wow, you really okay, cool. And so that's everybody, isn't it? So that's wicked. Thank you very much, guys. Is it did I get any grades off you, Grant?
Oh no. Yes, I'll give the song a 2 because it's still a decent song. It's just not necessarily what I like. I'll give video 3 because I really liked it. And I'll give the artist 2.5 because they're not necessarily my kind of cup of tea, but I think they're really good.
Wicked. Yeah, I think that's, I mean, again, I'm just not going to sit here and work it all out, but it looks it's quite obvious that Days took that one, and the other two seem like them. It seems like one might be more popular than the other, but it's difficult to tell because there's actually more variation in the scores, like between all the things. And as I said, it would be boring for me to sit here and do the maths, but you'll see it on the show. It'll all tally up, and I do this long-winded edit thing where the numbers change as someone says it, and it takes ages for me to do so. Well, you can see and quickly do a little round of plugs. So Grant, you're on screen. What have you got coming up, or what do you want? Where do you want people?
I just have stuff on my SoundCloud. It's EJ Gunk, and I've just got loads of stuff on my SoundCloud. I think I've still got your remix for a Smilex song. I don't have your remix actually on there, but that's on Spotify.
That's the one thing that you can find.
That's the one thing you can find on Spotify, and otherwise it's on SoundCloud, and it's just a little bit of bedroom racket, but not really racket as in heavy stuff, just noise for the sake of noise. Some other kind of racket.
Awesome. Have you got any plans particularly? Got anything coming up?
I'm just working on stuff, so it'll be out sometime.
Drop it when it's
hot. Yeah, exactly.
Cool, awesome. And obviously, James, you've got a gig coming up like really soon, haven't you? Online gig?
Oh, I have. I've got next Friday. We're doing a live stream playing songs from the new album. I'm going to do the majority of the album live. There are still a few copies of the orange vinyl. We did a limited run. You can grab those from jamesatkinmusic.com. And other than that, just a few Bentley's gigs over the summer, and then an EMF gig at the 100 Club on the 10th of December. So, yeah.
Oh, really? Awesome.
That sounds busy, but it's kind of spread out, over 6 months. But
awesome. All right.
I heard your thing last Friday, James. It was really good. You did the song. What's the Killing Time? What's the one?
The Echo and the Bunnymen. Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
And the new singles really good as well.
Yeah.
Radar. It's really cool.
is out there, and a little bit of Six Music support on that one. So yeah, it's all looking good. It's nice. It's good.
Awesome. Cool. Wicked. And where's the best paid people? I guess they can find you pretty much most places, but where do you want them most to go?
JamesAtkinMusic.com. There's all the bits and bobs there and stuff. But, yeah.
And it's generally EMF the band, isn't it? EMF the band on Instagram and things like that, I think.
Yeah, EMF the bands. Yeah, I think that's it.
Apart from the gig, have you got like, because you just did a big box set with loads of extra bits and bobs, didn't you? So you got much?
Yeah, there is a box set out there that's already sold out and gone. I'm just waiting for the manufacturers to make it. There seems to be a little bit of a backlog on for all artists getting their vinyl together, so
yeah, I bet.
Just waiting for that to arrive so we can post it all out, and then hopefully some plans for 2022. Can't believe I'm saying that, but yeah.
Wicked. Awesome. Look forward to it.
Thank
Wicked.
you.
And Ben, obviously, aside from obviously the single, which will be streaming at the end of the month, April 31st, and obviously people can go and join the club and get that now if they want it in advance and support the club and everything. Have you got
and good set, by the way?
Yes,
Ben. Loved it the other day.
Oh, awesome. Thank you.
I only think about you. That's how we do. I only think about you.
Yeah, thanks, Grant. That's very good of you to say. So, yeah, it's coming out. The state we're in is currently available exclusively to Quickfix Recording Singles Club members for £10 a year or 15 quid a year. I can't remember which one it is. One of the two.
Still
but either way,
there's still some memberships, depending when people are watching this, I guess. In a year's time, hopefully those are gone.
Either way, exceptional value for money. So yeah, that's kind of out there for Singles Club members at the minute. It's going streaming on Wednesday, which is March 31st, because I don't think April 31st is an actual day.
Sorry, did I say April?
Days in April, yeah.
That's my April Fool. On April 1st, I was going to announce that was an April Fool's joke.
Yeah. So there you go. So yeah, that's out on streaming on Wednesday the 31st. It's also, is it going Bandcamp then as well, Lee?
I think we're going Bandcamp on the following Friday, which is the second.
Following Friday.
Bandcamp Friday, yeah,
right, so,
with exclusive.
So that'll be on. It's a Bandcamp exclusive. So on there is that tune. There's a couple of remixes, one by your man Lee Christian and one by somebody else, and there's a 4-song live set I did in this room about 2 weeks ago on there as well. So there's a new song on there which nobody's ever heard before. There's a couple of songs that are from my previous EP that I put out last November. And
on
in terms of anything
and streaming,
all on, yes, that's right. So that's all on streaming if you search Saturn. The first EP I did is called the Hope and Heartbreak EP. So that's out. That came out last November. That's I'm on all the streaming places as Saturn. I'm on Bandcamp, Saturn. Yeah, I'm working on some new stuff. Probably June. I'm planning on putting that out. Probably a 3-song thingy, because 5 songs for a band nobody's ever heard of. I'm finding that nobody has time to listen to the 5 songs of a band nobody's ever heard of. So it's yeah, there's going to be some stuff coming out over the summer as well.
Awesome, wicked. Also, and it takes less time to record it then, doesn't it?
And it takes less time to record. There is that too. Yeah.
Wicked. Well, yeah. Okay. Thanks so much, guys. I've just noticed it's past 5 o'clock, so I'll let you all go and everything. But thanks very much for doing this. Wish you all the best for the rest of the year and onward with all your musical pursuits and everything. And yeah, cheers for giving us your time and opinions and chat and warm niceness.
Thank you, Lee.
My pleasure. Lovely to meet you guys.
Thanks, guys. Good to see you guys.
Take care.
See you later. Bye.
Thanks a lot. Bye.
Thanks.